The current version of our custom GPT instructions, for example, is 40 pages of instruction and prompting. And the reason it is that robust is because we have SOPs based off of the research that we've done, based off of the input we've gathered from current users in the alpha to refine and optimize this thing for this exact purpose so that those that are preparing applications can be doing it on a more efficient level, but they're also producing something that's much higher quality than their current status and or than being left alone to figure it out on their own.
Welcome to the Tourism AI podcast, where Josh Houston and I talk about all things at the intersection of tourism and artificial intelligence. It's been a little while since Josh and I connected, so he's been a little busy with his personal life. So let's start there. Oh, there it is. There's the ring. Yeah. So Josh just got married, as we know from our previous episode. He was getting married. So now he's there. So why don't you just start off, Josh, with tell us about how it went and tell us about how you feel about the whole thing.
Well, it was wonderful. We got married on a Friday night in southern Indiana. The leaves, if you're unfamiliar with the area, turn all colors of red, orange, yellow, and we had the perfect timing. We'll say accidentally, but we chose this where all the leaves were still on the trees, but the colors were beautiful. We got married in the sunset. So we're just starting to get our pictures back, and it's incredible. So, anyways, but we had the best time.
That's awesome.
So many good memories made with friends, family, and loved ones. All of the like planning and management stuff went off without a hitch. Go figure. My wife and I are both like organizers and pretty into making decisions and all that. So
Yeah.
logistics went well, and then we were able to just soak it all in. So yeah, now we're in that marital bliss for the next, I heard 80 years or so is
Well, we'll see. I don't know about bliss for 80 years, but the journey continues, let's just
That's
say.
right.
And
That's
all,
right.
all journeys are not perfectly linear, let's just say.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
But thanks.
congratulations. Super happy for you, man. That's fantastic news. Yeah, and it's funny, right? You get married, you do all this planning when you're getting married and all these things and all these plans and all these details. And like once you're there, it's like kind of it all just kind of goes away and none of it matters. And it's just the moment and it's just kind
Yeah.
of a special thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Awesome. Well, speaking of a lot of planning, we are doing an episode today that's a little different from what we've been doing because we are in coming up to month 11 of the Tourism AI Network's existence, official existence. And we are kind of thought we'd take a pause and just kind of talk a little bit about everything we've been building, everything we've built, and kind of where we're going in 2025. Just to kind of catch everybody up. I think sometimes, we're talking about all these different things in all these different areas, and we thought we'd sort of do one podcast to consolidate it all, kind of get everybody up to speed, and then hopefully kind of give people the big picture, which is important. So I wanted to start off with, we've talked about the AI adoption framework quite a bit on this podcast. So we're not going to get into the details of it per se, other than I want to say that the framework, the more conversations I have with people in the tourism industry about AI adoption, the more it reinforces to me the value of the way we've created the framework because, you know, just if you just go in and you teach, you do one session or one workshop or you do one thing with somebody, that doesn't mean that they're going to suddenly start using AI. Now, I will say there are some people who definitely are those people. So I've been told by quite a few people as I present, and people are starting to see me present, for a second time and a third time in some cases. And I get a lot of people come up to me and say, gee, I saw you at the BC Tourism Industry Conference and it really inspired me to try AI. And now I'm totally all in and like it's changed my life. And so I get those stories, but that's not the norm. That's sort of like those kind of early adopter type folks. Others, the majority of people, it's, they go to a workshop or they go to a conference and they get all inspired and then they go back to work and then they have their massive to-do list and then they have, all this stuff to do. And it's like, oh my God, I don't have time for this, right? And then it sort of just kind of falls off a little bit, or, maybe they do a little bit of AI use. And so anyways, I wanted to kind of give that context in terms of really the AI adoption framework is really designed for culture shift and culture change. And it's deliberately a process over time, right? So kind of understanding that, you're not just going to become an AI first person, or you're not going to change your AI use culture by sitting through one presentation or one workshop. It's got to be reinforced over time. And I think that everything we've been creating at Tourism AI Network really kind of enforces that concept. And that's sort of what I want to talk about today. So number one, in terms of the AI adoption framework, I don't want to announce it yet, but I'm almost ready to announce something really fun in BC. And so, there's plans for a fairly large rollout in British Columbia as a starting point for the AI adoption framework. I won't talk about the details, but coming soon to British Columbia tourism professionals, the ability to access the framework, for a fairly reasonable price. For me, what's really fun and valuable about the plans there is the fact that we're going to be kind of taking an approach where we can kind of try to bring, for example, groups of people with similar jobs or similar interests together. So, for example, a cohort of DMOs or a cohort of tourism operators in a sector or something along those lines. And so there's going to be a lot of power in that. The ability for people with similar jobs, similar pain points to kind of be part of a cohort together, to collaborate. I mean, that's really why we created the network. I believe the power of collaboration is sort of the key. And I'm really excited about that. And then, what I will say about that from, I guess, selfish perspective, Josh, is that, for us, it allows us, and we've kind of seen this already in some of the rollouts that we've done, is to start to understand what are those common themes, what are those common sort of pain points and those types of things in terms of, the types of ways AI can help people in certain jobs, certain professions, certain parts of the industry. So let's use that as a jumping off point for, we're going to kind of move ahead and then we'll go back, but the grant application tool, because that is something that has come up as a result of, kind of talking to a few DMOs now through this process, and this sort of like this coming up to the top as one of the main things that AI could help with. So why don't you kind of talk a little bit about the grant application tool and kind of what it's all about and how we're rolling it out?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the privilege, it's kind of like our secret sauce of being the glue between all the different parties, right? By working with DMOs and different tourism organizations, we hear stories in these deep dives as we're just getting to know folks and what their roles and how they're impacted by various pieces of technology, yada, yada, yada. We get to hear the common denominator. And one of the main things that we've heard every single time in the dozens of conversations that we've had with different companies is this need for a better way to operate within the grant writing space. There's so many bottlenecks from the research process of finding available grants that are relevant to you and then vetting those against the requirements in your organization to then fulfilling a very custom bespoke application that typically is in some portal to then just basically reformatting and reshaping the same information over and over and over again. And this is such a tedious slash like involved task that many organizations are just outsourcing to grant writers. And grant writers aren't necessarily the ones solving the problem yet, in that they're not able to increase the capacity of how many grants get applied to. They're not able to reduce the cost for organizations at this point because it's not in their interest, right? So we found this gap between, current available suppliers and what the market needs. And it's, in our case, a very interesting slash simple to execute application for custom GPTs, for custom projects, for custom AI assistants who can help wade through all of the admin slog related to researching, to reformatting information, to preparing, analyses of financial situations in reality. All those things are time consuming. If you just spent, a week working on a grant application for multiple six figures or multiple seven figures, you're going to lose so much time if you're the leader of an organization. We often find that's the type of person who has to be involved. It's always management, it's always directors, it's always folks who are very busy. They have a pile of, tasks and other things and responsibilities a mile high. So what we've been working on is tooling to quickly deploy at an affordable level custom GPTs and or custom Claude projects that are tailored to any specific organization that helps them speed up their grant application process, from researching to drafting responses to pulling together, any sort of specialized analysis based off of existing data And because we're able to work across the industry with so many different organizations, we're developing kind of a just a standard out of the box with all sorts of extra bells and whistles solution that should address the speed, the cost, the admin slog in a collaborative way that doesn't just like kind of hand off this process because it still needs to be relatively involved. But the whole point is that we can help our industry partners deliver their grant work in a much more effective way.
And what I like about this one, Josh, is that, it's fairly quick to deploy, it's fairly inexpensive, so it's fairly low risk at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you and I, Josh, talked a lot about over the past couple months here, what I don't think is going to work necessarily is, here's a huge 25,000, $35,000 project to get you going with AI. It's like, here's a $1,500 tool or whatever, that can immediately have an impact on your ROI, on your business, on your operations, right? That can kind of start getting you flexing your AI muscle a little bit, sort of, seeing, getting those aha moments that you and I like to talk about a little bit, right? And sort of
Hmm.
really drive real meaningful value. I mean, at the end of the day, I think if you paid $1,500 for a tool and you used it once or twice and it saved you, dozens of hours, like it pays for itself
Yeah.
several times over. And we know that
Right.
grant applications are something that, DMOs, for example, are doing a lot of. So, you're going to probably use it quite a bit. And I think similarly, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but we probably could and will also on a sort of similar note, kind of a RFP responding tool is same concept, right? So,
Yep.
probably the more the tourism operators and those types of folks, it might not be as many grant applications, but really responding to an RFP is the same thing at the end of the day, right? So I'm really
Absolutely.
excited to deploy these tools because they're gonna be meaningful for people, right?
Yeah, one little thing too that we've heard because we're working across the industry, we also have a number of relationships with the funders who are receiving applicants for grants that they're, kind of funding. And we heard a common pain point is that they see so many AI bullshit applications at this time because so many people are just jumping into ChatGPT willy-nilly. And like, hey, ChatGPT, write a thing for this, and with very little prompt effort, with very little like human in the loop editing, then just like submitting garbage, which will not win them the award they're hoping for. So we heard this other side of the pain point that was like, we really need these to be better quality, which is where we also kind of filled in like our assumption, which is like, yes, this should be a custom thing, not just a, hey, here's a prompt pack that y'all can take and run with. The current version of our custom GPT instructions, for example, is 40 pages of instruction and prompting. And the reason it is that robust is because we have SOPs based off of the research that we've done, based off of the input we've gathered from current users in the alpha to refine and optimize this thing for this exact purpose so that those that are preparing applications can be doing it on a more efficient level, but they're also producing something that's much higher quality than their current status and or than being left alone to figure it out on their own. So that's a huge, we're trying to bridge the gap between both parties. And this is very common with AI impacted areas. Like if you look at HR and recruiting, like you have recruiters who are using AI to screen resumes, and then you have applicants who are using AI to write the resumes. So you have the AI talking to the AI and nobody's happy. So you got to have a better way. And we've seen the shape of this problem and solution before, and this is why we're attacking it this angle because there is a better way.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm really excited. So yeah, I mean, certainly we're ready to roll that out now. We have the tool ready to go. We gotta get it on our website. We gotta start marketing and all that fun stuff. But this is sort of maybe our first opportunity to really talk about it and let the community know what we're up to. And really for me, this is Josh, the sort of first tool in what I'll call a suite of productivity tools that we're gonna be sort of rolling out and delivering to the industry across the board. I mean, there's just so many tools like this that we can deploy for so many use cases that we kind of hear about, like to your point, when we're talking to industry partners. And, when we roll out this AI adoption framework through British Columbia, that's just going to give us more opportunities to sort of find out what let that low hanging fruit is, right? And, I know for sure in the, BC DMO space, the MRDT report writing process is one that everybody literally, I was just at a conference yesterday where somebody was like, can you give that to me like today? Because I have to do this, like it's on my desk and I like it's so it's on me a little bit. I feel like we should have
Yeah.
kind of gotten that one going a little faster, but anyways, we are where we are. We can only do as much as we can do as quickly as we can do it. But super excited about sort of the productivity suite of tools. That's really big. And I think the other set of tools that I'm excited about is, again, ready to deploy today is, certainly website chatbots, but also internal chatbots, right? So internal chatbots on your SOPs or internal chatbots on your employee manual or all of it or whatever, right? So those are things that, we're ready to roll those out. We just got to kind of package them a little bit. But if you want any of those chatbots, hit us up and we can get started for you right away. So I'm really excited about all of those things. So I'm going to take a step back and we're going to go to the Tourism AI Academy. So we have created something called Tourism AI Academy, which is an online asynchronous learning platform, and it exists inside like a community building tool called Circle. And so we've created the first course, which is the Intro to AI for Tourism Professionals course. It's a 60-minute sort of course with just sort of little, bite-sized pieces. And we started to populate also Tourism AI Academy with little how-to videos, little just sort of like little tutorials. And so really the goal for Academy is little quick hits of knowledge and learning that are not overwhelming, that just sort of show you quickly how you can kind of use these tools for improving certain little productivity features. And you and I, Josh, talked a little bit about, we created a whole map of, here's all the courses we're going to create and here's all the things. And then we sort of decided to pivot just recently. And we said, you know what, instead of doing that, instead of just like spending all this time and effort building a bunch of things, why don't we build a community first and then ask the community what are the things they want to learn about? So that's sort of what we're doing right now. We're offering free lifetime access to the Academy for the next couple months. We'll put a code in the notes, in the show notes for this podcast. We're going to be sort of starting to market that out to our list here very soon. Really, we just want to build a community. Every time I speak at a conference, I sort of make the community accessible to people so that we can start to build. I mean, the community, like the community is the power. I think that's, literally, I deliberately used the word network when I created this organization because the power is in the network, right? And so really excited about that. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add in terms of the Academy.
Yeah, I think the main thing I'm excited about is that we get to continue to hear from everybody how we can be of service because we're still so early in AI adoption. Our main focus is to help people get to the point where they're using AI for productivity on a daily basis. That's like
Yeah,
my North Star when I do workshops, when I do coaching, when I talk to clients and consulting. We want them to receive the benefit of AI intuition, which is
yeah,
kind of on a personal level, your comfort level with using these tools. That's going to happen in community. That's going to happen when you have accountability. It's going to happen when you see examples from everybody else around you. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what you're doing. Oh, I didn't realize that was possible. The
yeah,
the moment in everybody's AI journey that changes from not interested, not sure, not using AI to wow, how can this help me? What else can it do?
yeah.
On a regular basis is an aha moment where you see something productive that's relevant to you. That's what the community's for.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah. And it's, it's a bit of a place for inspiration. Obviously, we have, like, right now we have two ebooks that we've added already to the Circle community that you can download. And, one of them's like 45 pages. It's really robust. There's lots of prompt examples. There's lots of detail in there. It's all free. So this is really just sort of, again, to your point, Josh, we're just trying to get people inspired. We're trying to get people thinking about the tools. We're trying to get people talking to each other, right? Because we believe that that's actually the path forward. And so, we're making it free. Like literally, we're just sort of like offering this to the community so that we can add as much value as possible and kind of get people on the path and on the journey, right? So yeah, it's been sort of it's a lot of work for us, but I think it's high value work in terms of sort of getting engagement and getting sort of people on the right path. So the other thing that we've been working on, that I'm personally super excited to launch very, very soon. I don't even have an update from you yet, Josh, but we will talk later today, is Tourism AI Copilot Pro. So this is a really exciting offering. So I'm going to let you just kind of talk about it, what it is, why it matters, all those types of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we help people train for their AI adoption and we start introducing tools to them, we often are talking about ChatGPT, Claude, we're talking about Perplexity, we're talking about image generation tools, video generation tools, all of these different various tools. And ultimately, what's happening in the market every single month, everybody, all the providers are changing places in terms of who has the best model, what's it best at, oh, well, the new Claude model's better at coding than the new GPT model. Okay, great. But if I'm locked in to using one of the tools and only one provider, like I only use ChatGPT, then I'm missing out on, say, I do need that coding feature and I'm not able to leverage the current one in my current provider. I can't just switch my whole business over to Anthropic for a month and then switch back. Like
Right.
there's this like barrier of transition. And some, like for some of us that are doing research, that are really nerds, like we pay for all the tools, but that's not the reality for every business. You can't do that for all your employees,
Yeah.
like across the board, let alone, have 5 to 10 paid AI tools that everybody's using on a regular basis. Your SaaS costs go through the roof. So when we started talking about how do we help people have access to the best available, have the comfort of a private workspace where there's more security, there's more like privacy, and something that would allow us to also serve them solutions that are relevant to them and their business, specific AI assistants, for example. We wanted to make a platform available to our community that could do all of those things, that could allow you to switch between OpenAI models when you're chatting, to Claude models, to Perplexity search on the internet, to Google models if you wanted to use image generation and various platforms in one place without having to buy all the different tools and sign up for everything. And that's exactly what our Copilot is. It is a chatbot solution that does all of those things. It allows you to deploy and leverage custom assistants, we'll call them, because they could be attached to any model. Claude models, OpenAI models, they can have specific knowledge base, they can have specific actions, custom actions in apps elsewhere. All of that's available through our Copilot subscription. We're still in the process of launching, but it's so cool. It's so cool. We use these
Mhm.
tools on a regular daily basis. It allows us to toggle between what's this, version versus that version, say, and do it in a way that feels there's features that are getting added, like folders and organization and custom project knowledge. These sorts of things are continually being added to the mix. But yeah, we'll be launching this platform very soon. We're pretty much there in terms of building. So yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah,
Good to know.
the out of
Josh has been
office.
getting married, so I've been trying to
Yeah,
leave him alone, but
yeah,
I've
yeah.
been
No,
eager
no,
to get the updates.
we're there at the finish line. So we'll be
Nice.
rolling this out. I assume as we start to roll out the academy, we can kind of promote them together. And this will be a paid
Yes.
platform that's comparable to the pro account level that you would get in a ChatGPT or a Claude Teams, and in this $30 to $60 price point per person, and have the ability to. So we're going to have one for the Tourism AI Network. And for clients that need or want to have their own custom version for their business, we offer that service where we'll help set you up a version that works best for you and install all the custom, AI assistants that you'd like
Yeah.
for your business use cases there too. So we'll have one that's generally
Yeah.
available that is kind of the best of what we've seen across the board. And then we'll have some that are just, kind of custom white label specific to our clients.
Yeah, so let me talk about that a little bit because I think that, the tourism industry specifically is an industry that has a lot of very, very small companies, one person operations, or one to, a husband and wife team that are running a business and doing all the things, or very, very small, right? So a lot of small businesses, a lot of micro businesses. And so obviously there are our broad platform for everybody will be really great for those small businesses, and probably a great starting point even for all tourism businesses, just to sort of understand the platform and understand the value of it. And then, yeah, I think, like, for example, like I envision at least, a DMO, is big enough and has enough staff where it makes sense for them, for us to help you create a very highly customized instance just for your DMO, as an example, or maybe a sort of a medium-sized tourism business, a hotel or something like that, where it makes sense to create one just for your organization. So that's how I see it rolling out. So yeah, I'm really excited. So really an all-in-one, all-encompassing, really workspace is what it is. That gives you access to all the tools, some customization, lots of data security features, and all kinds of other things. So really excited about that. I really can't wait. And selfishly for me, Josh, I've been waiting for this for my own team, because we are like you. We have kind of subscriptions all over the place, and there's like we're pretty into ChatGPT as a team. We made a decision, but I keep hearing and playing with Claude myself, and seeing the value there. And I'm like, okay, I want to get access to everything for everybody and the right use cases. And then obviously there's a big training component to how to use these tools and which one to use when. And, I did a presentation yesterday at Kootenays Rockies Tour, or sorry, not Kootenays Rock, Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association, where I did a little workshop and then I kind of showed a number of different tools that can help you with a number of different things. And, this is kind of, you talked a little bit earlier about AI intuition. And so it's like over time, after you use these tools for a little while, you start to act, even inside the ChatGPT instance, you have ChatGPT 4.0, you have ChatGPT 4 with Canvas, you have ChatGPT 01, and there's different times where it makes sense to use different tools. And
Mhm.
that's sort of an intuition you need to develop over time as to which tool to use when. And now, if you have a platform that basically gives you access to all these tools, it's a fantastic starting point just to get you going on tools. And then it's a matter of, again, through the academy, through rolling out the AI adoption framework, through all the things we've been talking about through this podcast, we can really start to help people understand, when would I use Perplexity versus when would I use O1 versus when would I use this tool versus, right, and really kind of supercharge people's ability to get amazing productivity with AI. So I'm really, really excited. This is kind of like, I think the probably the highest value thing outside of sort of the training that I think we're creating in terms of just creating real efficiency for organizations. So really looking forward to that one. That one's coming very, very soon. So stay tuned. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit here is just really just kind of more around businesses looking for help on a one-to-one basis from us. So, this is something that's available today as well, and something you can access anytime by reaching out is really, this concept of a fractional chief AI officer or an accountability coach or just somebody to be part of your team on a fractional basis to help make sure that we're actually driving that cultural change, right? So why don't you talk a little bit about that, Josh, in terms of kind of what it looks like, why it's important, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll zoom out and go backwards to why this is what we're doing. We've met with dozens of companies over the past 11 months. We've met with hundreds, if not a few thousand people individually to have sessions. We call enablement sessions to learn about their job, their role, what they need. And then we've gathered feedback from people that we've done trainings with to hear what was the most valuable thing, what was most helpful, how productive do you feel now that you have this tooling and this knowledge. And one of the main things we heard from folks was one, for those that got something out of it, that, hey, I'm using ChatGPT all the time now, I'm saving X amount of time. We've heard on average about 15 to 25% boost in productivity on an individual basis for those that take what we show them and apply it to their daily or weekly workloads. Obviously, those people that are using it on a daily basis are getting the most benefit, but we also hear, yeah, I'm turning into it a few times a week, or this is something I use it for this specific thing, every month when I have to do my reports. We hear those sorts of stories. And then the other common thing that we hear from folks is, I just have been too busy. Like I've got too much going on. You kind of mentioned that at the beginning of this. I've got too much going on to really like give it a fair chance. Like I know it probably can help me. And both of those things tell us very valuable things. One, when people start actually using the tool, they get the benefit on an individual basis without having to learn to code, learn to be technical, become some, tech bro. And on the other side of it, if they don't have someone helping them step past that first barrier, some people have said, learning new things is a little like intimidating for me, and I just need to get from 0 to 1. Like if you can just hold my hand the first time, then I should be able to take it and run. We've heard that story multiple times as well. And so our thought and approach has changed and shifted from initially we were trying to scope out kind of technical projects where we could do some transformation, we could do some IT overhaul, we could do like a level up to embed AI across an organization. The reality is that's not necessary or relevant to many of the businesses in this space because they're smaller organizations. They may not have an IT team or person. They might not have all of these, this infrastructure yet. So it's a bit misguided to promise, hey, AI can embed everywhere in your company. You can access all your data if they don't even have data to access yet. So we've adjusted based off of the voice of the people, what we've heard, what we've learned. And the thing that makes the most sense to pursue is helping business leaders figure out how to enable their teams with readily available tools today that they could start implementing today instead of drawing out multiple, quarterly objectives that are really long, super intense on a technical level and high level of investment. So we have the AI adoption roadmap where we're guiding companies to make a plan, to start developing their policies, to help create AI enablement across their teams with an AI council, and then moving through that process with them by offering training workshops. So we have three standard workshops that we provide that help people go from 0 to 1, from 1 to 10, so that on their own individual journey, they can feel confident figuring out where to work AI in on a daily basis. That's the workshop objectives. And then once the workshops are over, a new thing that we want to do is stand by people consistently. So helping those AI councils continue to be effective by partnering with them in coaching those kind of champions, if you will, those people who are taking initiative to really learn and develop their AI intuition and also infect the rest of their team members. So we offer this ongoing consulting engagement where we're helping walk with leadership. We're also working with team members, so top down, bottom up, to help everyone in the organization find their productivity. I say productivity optimization, but that's too much buzzword. To help them find their stride and use AI daily. That's the overall goal. And we're there to help them navigate the little like hiccups in the road. The hey, why did my ChatGPT just crash? Is that normal? This prompt that I'm trying isn't getting me anywhere. I'm not able to do this thing. Can you help me? It's those little like kind of very quick exchanges like, hey, could you tweak this? And with the beauty of like prompting and AI intuition is it's most of the time just, hey, try wording it a different way.
Right. Yeah.
Try looking
Yeah.
over here, right? Like, so these are the programs now that we realize are most effective are programs where we're helping individuals get to an everyday use so that their personal productivity boosts by 20, 30, 40%. Because when they reach that level, if you multiply that times the entire payroll, if you have $1 million payroll and you got a 20% boost across the board, you just gained $200,000 of productivity just on the people, not counting the exponential change that this leads to.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And it's really important. Like, I mean, I guess, you and I probably are becoming a broken record on this podcast around like culture shift
Yeah.
and people in culture first and all those things. Because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you and I can build a $1,500, tool to help with grant applications. But if you don't have the culture of going to AI first and the sort of mindset of, I need to go to my AI tool to solve a problem, you're not going to use that tool. So it's like useless, right? And never mind a $25,000 application or some big kind of thing that you can create for somebody. It's like if you haven't created those habits of going to AI first, and that's even I think about the AI Copilot Pro. It's like that is potentially an opportunity to like, here's a new workplace for you. Here's a new app that you open up on the regular as your starting point, right? But again, it takes first you got to get people onto it, then you got to get people sort of used to using it. You and I, it's interesting, I'm gonna share a story with you, but you and I talked about the Arc browser the other
Yeah.
podcast the other day on a podcast, and so I installed it during that podcast and it like totally fucked up my whole my whole life. I was like, oh my god, I don't know where anything is, this is crazy. So I have it on my desktop, but I like honestly like haven't I've gone back to Chrome because I just haven't had like it was just not the right time for me, right? It was just
Sure.
like too much at the wrong time. I'm like traveling, I'm doing all this. So I'm like, that's like a bit of a for me a December project, get my Arc browser
Right.
optimized and going or whatever. But these tools, like for example, I think that this is a little easier than changing your browser. This is just like an application you can open and you can go and start using immediately and it's sort of all set up for you and ready to go, right? And so yeah, and to your point though, it's like getting us in as an accountability coach or as just come in for an hour to answer questions or kind of get you past those little friction points or whatever it is, very that's going to kind of get you there in terms of the culture change. And so that's kind of why we're taking this fractional chief AI officer approach or this coaching approach, whatever you want to call it. I think the names aren't really that relevant, but the concept and the idea is we're just here to help nudge you along a little bit and just make sure and to your point, you said earlier, Josh, and we've talked about is like people are like, I just don't have time for this. Well, and it's like, well, then by hiring us to come in once a month or whatever, once a week, whatever the timing is, we're forcing some time for this, right? And we're forced, and that's sometimes you just need to do that, right? And sometimes if you just say, well, this is in our calendar, so we got to do it, then it just sort of makes you stop and pause for the hour or whatever it is that we're going to do it, and that's just a really useful thing for your business. And so yeah, so I mean, overall, kind of everything we've been talking about, everything we've been working on, for me, again, it's all about that cultural change. And the more we've been talking to people in industry, the more I'm realizing that they're micro steps and micro changes. You and I started this journey about with let's develop these tools and let's do all these things that are really big and really, it's like we're not going to get there if we do that, right? So it's got to be the micro touch points and the micro changes, and that's why everything we've created is sort of aligns with, I guess, the vision of those little micro touch points and micro changes, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited about where we've come to in the last 11 months. It's been a great journey, and honestly, I feel like we're just getting started. We have some really big, exciting things happening really soon. I'm working on a whole bunch of MOUs and partnerships and contracts with or associations and organizations. So like we have a lot we're going to be rolling out very, very soon. So I feel like we're moving quickly from the sort of stand up and creation phase to the implementation and rollout phase. And I can tell you in my conversations at different conferences, people are asking for it now. They're like, hey, when do we start rolling this out? When are we going to start doing these things? Right. So, it takes time. It's been a lot of work, but it's been such an exciting journey. And along the way, I've been obviously speaking at a lot of conferences. I have like the next 3 weeks in a row, I'm like on the road full time speaking at a few other conferences around the country. And it's super exciting. It's been so fun and meeting people and hearing about their AI journeys. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just maybe conclude by saying, we're just getting started, and we're really excited to sort of help people embark on their AI journeys as their co-pilots, as their partners, as their supporters, as their champions. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Amen.
Thanks for joining Peter and Josh on another episode of the Tourism AI podcast, where they dive into the AI tools they're building to help tourism operators and DMOs perform, as well as other relevant updates for the tourism industry. Stay up to date between episodes at tourismainetwork.com or on socials at Tourism AI Network.